Well, welcome back, guys, and to alleviate any confusion up front, today we're not discussing conspiracies regarding ravens. It just happens that a group of ravens, the bird, are referred to as a conspiracy, much like a bevy of quail, gaggle of geese, and murder of crows, etc. down the line. So today we're going to look at a few early raven mods that I did, a long time ago actually, it seems like, back when this was considered integrating in my mind. First off, the ravens themselves aren't highly modified exactly. This one has been just straight rewired to an XT60 connector, still has stock cage, flywheels, and everything else. This one has been, I believe this one was my first one. I rewired the battery tray to where you can select 2 or 3 IMRs back when that was an accepted technology. Right now, you run 2, and that one actually just kind of acts as a off switch, essentially. So, but back in the day, it actually made it pretty darn cool to be able to run it on, 2 cells, and they'd be able to just pop it forward with a kind of a flick of the finger, be able to hit a little bit harder, and then back down real quick if you needed a little extra range, or you needed to tag somebody you didn't like as much. As is, they kind of are left as loners right now for the most part. I do have ambitions later on of upgrading the flywheels, the cages, the motors, and stuff like that. But right now we're going to focus on the attachments. So we'll get one of them out of the way for space's sake. But actually, to start, let's look at this one right here. This to me was like, when I first got into the hobby, I saw a build like this, I think on Coop's channel, and I just thought, oh my gosh, that is just the coolest looking thing in the world. And so I, built it up, and both of these are the using the Coop method of using some small machine screws, some small fasteners with washers, with holes drilled through the tactical rails to hold them together. The hot glue that's in here is just to keep them from creaking and rocking back and forth and making noise and stuff, and so they're a little more durable, but the actual connection itself is a mechanical connection. It is removable, leaving you with just the blaster itself still. Retains the trigger control instead of being a slam fire only, so you can have that, which is cool. Once upon a time, I had a laser pointer thing stuck up here that made you feel cool. You could push it forward and the button would hit the little attachment connector thing here, and it would hold it on, and it was cool. But for the most part, it just looks really, really cool. The lines go together well. The Longstrike is like the best barrel in the world for the Raven. The Roughcut just tucks in there beautifully. It's just a nice compact, although you have a lot of barrel drag, but it's just super, for the most part, compact for what it is, comfortable, looks really cool, and that's a win. So that's pretty much all there is for that one at this point. Like I said, I'm going to come back later and want to do a nice, good overhaul on these, fix the misalignment in the cage, because I think this one here, it'll shoot darts out, every which way, because I think it's got some magazine, flywheel cage, barrel misalignment issues, so that'll have to be addressed at a later time. But the truly interesting one that I like the most for functionality is this attachment here. And I had seen, I don't remember what it was on, but I'd seen the Magnus underbarreled on something at some point, and I thought, oh, that's cool and all. But everybody always uses the existing trigger. And at the time, I was still rocking the Raven a little bit because it was, cool and all. But I thought, there's got to be a way to mimic the trigger on the Roughcut that you can just reach forward with your finger. And so I built a new trigger. I took the trigger linkage out of the Magnus, and I ended up building a piece out of plastic, just using some scraps. I think I ended up using a piece of a strong arm trigger lock thing at some point, and built a trigger piece on the end of that. But I used it to basically replace the trigger linkage inside, and it ended up breaking pretty quick, so I made this piece out of just some steel bar, some square bar, I think, what, 8 and 3/16, can't remember what size right offhand, but I just heated it and bent it and shaped it, and it didn't come out as good as I'd liked because we were currently out of acetylene, and so I ended up having to use just a propane torch to heat it and hammer it and stuff like that, and so it wasn't able to get quite as hot as I wanted it to in order to get it to bend right where I wanted and shape just the way I wanted. So I'll probably end up redoing it in the future, and I might try to tuck this up a little higher. But it is nice, instead of like other ones that I've seen where you have to prime the blaster and then reach up here and pull the trigger or do a weird thumb thing. You can just go right back into, you can prime it, hit trigger, and then you can just reach forward, fire that off in a hurry, fire off all three in a hurry if you need to. It still maintains that kind of compactness of the Raven, to where this here acts as a really nice, just kind of forward grip. Makes it easy to reload the Magnus on the fly if you need to, because it's not hanging way out front or anything like that. At one point I had this on the Longstrike barrel, and when I replaced it, I moved the holes, so this is actually a little closer than it was before, so it does make it kind of a tiny bit cramped jumping from one to the other. But it was a little better before. But like I said, instead of trying to move it again, I think I'll just try to redo the whole thing overall. But that's those are the Ravens that I built. Chances are I'll overhaul this one as well, because you might as well do both. But I'd never seen another one done quite like this in this arrangement, especially with a remote trigger. So I figured that might be an interesting idea for somebody who wanted to replicate something similar, or wanted to be a little more fluid with their use of an underbarreled setup. Which there again is the nice part of having using the Raven for cool attachments, because you don't have a magwell in the way. You could just add, put a trigger for whatever the heck you want on there. So that is that. And that is that. So if you have any further questions regarding the, either of these attachments, then you go ahead and leave a comment in the comment box below, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. You may see these again later after they've been rebuilt and done over again a little bit, but I'll try to avoid repeating any information if I can help it. I do have a plan in the future to build another blaster similar to this, but with a bit of a twist, so you'll have to stay tuned for that later. So, thanks for sticking around and watching this, and I will see you next time.